but I really appreciate the request. I hope you find this interesting, if not informative, because I'm definitely not a makeup artist. So this isn't actually a tutorial, this is more just the overview of how I do foundation, and obviously different foundation application, because I like to mix it up between mousse, mineral powder, liquid, etc. So we're going over the different brushes that I use, but I will also be updating my brush overview I did a little while ago. I think it was my first or my second post on YouTube, because that really needs updating. It was a really bad sort of quality video. So I'll go over all those, but I'll put all the details below. But of course I'll be moving through this fairly quickly, because all I'll really be doing is just quickly going on how I sort of apply it. I'm not actually doing my face for the day, it's actually the evening. So I'm basically practically nude faced, ready to try different things on my face. So you may even just find this amusing. Of course some people will disagree on how I apply it, and I'm going to be using a few different brushes, and of course I don't use them all in one go, but I'll get to it. So first thing, when I'm doing my foundation routine in the morning, I will apply an SPF for the day. At the moment I'm favoriting Neutrogena Ultra Sheer Spray, so I will apply that. Once that's dry, say 30 seconds or so, I'll go ahead and apply my my primers, and then I'll go ahead and do my correctors and my concealing once that's dry. The primers I'm favoriting at the moment are Red Earth Face Primer and the Prime Time Face Primer by ID Bear, and also I just sort of mix up between those, so I actually use them up. Then if I'm correcting for the day, of course some people like to just do that after their foundation. This depends on what you prefer. I grab my green or my yellow if I need it, and these are the ones by Physicians Formula. I've just depotted the tubes, so I've got the green to counteract any redness I might have, for example around my nose, and yellow if I want to cover any sort of dark circles, for example, if I have under my eyes. Then I do the concealing. Same thing, like I said, some people might do that all in one, just with the flesh toned thing. If I'm doing correcting, I'll grab my concealer brushes. I've got a couple of different ones just depending on what I want to do. If I'm going for the green, I've got this one by Cosmetica. For those of you in Australia, the Cosmetica range is available at most Target stores, and it's by Manicare. And Manicare is also done by Mcpherson's Consumer Products. They also do the Artiste Professional range, which I'll mention in a moment, which are available at most Priceline and some selected Myer stores. But all I do, I'll dab a little bit of the green just on there, and I'll just dab it around the areas that need it. I'll blend it in, and obviously I'm not going to be doing it for you now, I'll just get rid of that. But I'll blend that in. Once that's done, I might correct anything else I need to, for example any yellow. Grab my Artiste Professional brush, this is the number 1 concealer brush, nice soft synthetic bristles. Dab a little bit of the yellow under the eye area if I need it, blend that in. Once it's all blended in, I might go ahead and use a fresh coloured concealer if I need to, or I'll just go ahead and do my foundation. At the moment, if I'm doing concealing, a natural concealer, natural flesh tone concealer, I'm using the Graftobian palettes, just so I'm actually using them all up. And all I do, because they're HD creams, they're really thick, you really only need the absolute tiniest amount. So I might grab my number 2 brush by Artiste Professional. This is a nice pointed one, really soft. Use the tiniest amount, whatever I need to mix in to get the perfect shade, and then I'll just apply it, blend it in. That's all I really do. Of course, this sort of stuff you can mix with your moisturizer or your liquid foundation to get the perfect shade. It's up to you. Then I'll go ahead and do my foundation. If I'm doing a mousse foundation, even with liquid foundation, I do prefer to use a stippling brush. I love the stippling brushes by the Artiste Professional range. I'll put the numbers below. It's obviously a nice clean one. I've already used this one today. I'll grab my mousse foundation. This is the Bourjois Mineral Matte one, number 81 if you're interested. Lovely soft. Dab it in there. Depending on how much coverage I want, I might dab on a little bit, and then I'll just basically buff it in or work it into the face. Basically, obviously go all over. You get your neck, all around. I like the stippling brush because you can really get in around the face. For example, obviously I'm just doing this really roughly just to go through this quickly. I'll buff it in. Might do it a little bit again. What I also like to do as well, if I want to do some contouring, I can either use obviously use a powder if I'm using powder foundation. If I'm using a liquid or a mousse, I like to grab a mousse foundation or a liquid foundation that's obviously a couple of shades darker to do contouring if I want to, and then I'll actually go in to the cheek areas and down there if I want to do that. If I'm doing a mineral or powder foundation, I do like to use a denser but soft brush. So if I'm using, say, my mineral powder by Bella Pierre, I'll reach for my New by Nature brush. This is a really nice soft synthetic bristles, but they're really, really dense. Same thing, I'll dip it in there, pat that on, and then I'm obviously just working in, so I really, really buff it into the face, and then basically keep doing that until I'm actually happy with that. And obviously I'm not doing my face for the day, I just can't wait to wash all this off. I'm just showing you what I do. That's basically what I do. Of course, there's other brushes out there, also by Artiste Professional range. I like the number 23 brush. This is actually called the bronzer brush, but I find it's far too dense. You can see it's actually got a really, really nice volume there. Nice dense bristles, but it's nice and soft. Same thing, tap it in there and just work it around. You can also use this for just powder foundation rather than your mineral powder foundation. That's just another option there. Of course, people can go for MAC brushes, but I like these ranges because they're basically affordable but good quality brushes as well. Another thing I may do if I'm using a powder foundation for the day is I may apply bronzer. If I do need to apply bronzer, I might use something that's a nice clipped brush, but nice and soft, but not too dense, like the Eco Tools brush. Dab it in, and kind of just sort of gives me nice control around the face. Or if I'm not using bronzer for the day, and I'm using a powder, I want to use a powder to contour. I might grab something like my Squared. This is the bone beige one. Got the highlighter and the contour powder there. I might grab my Artiste Professional angle brush. This is the angle contour brush. As you can see, I'll put the number below. Dab that in there. And obviously just work around the areas that I want to contour. Of course, I might not do all this at once, but that's just up to you. I'm just trying to show you what I may do if I am using it. I'm just working around. Of course, if I'm using liquid foundation as opposed to mousse foundation, some people may prefer to use an actual foundation brush. This is just a synthetic one. This is by Beauty Essentials. I mean, there's other types that I've got tons of different types of brushes. You can use that. But the best tutorial that I've actually seen on YouTube is by Wayne. He's an actual makeup artist, Goss makeup artist. I'll put a link to his channel below. He did a really good tutorial on using a foundation brush. But what I actually like to use foundation brushes for is if I'm using a mousse or a liquid foundation, I can use a liquid blush, or if I'm using mousse, I like to use a cream blush, and that's what I use the foundation brush for. As you can see, I've already used it. I'll dab on a little bit there, and then I basically work it into the face. Obviously, I'm not doing it properly, I'm just showing you what I would do. And I go blend it in. If I'm going, oh no, I haven't blended it in properly, I've got that stippling brush that I've used with the mousse foundation, for example. It's got a little bit of product on there. I haven't spot cleansed it yet. I'll grab that, and then I'll buff that in. So I'm not really disturbing the foundation on there, but I'm just trying to blend it in nicely. And that's obviously up to you, but that's what I like to do. And then lastly but not leastly, if I am using a setting powder for the day or a translucent powder, I might grab a nice soft and not very dense brush, because what I want to do is not work say my translucent powder. This is the Australis one, or the HD powder. This is the e.l.f. one. I don't want to actually work over the foundation that I've got. I don't want to buff in or working around. I just want to basically set that translucent powder over the top. So this is my favourite one. It's a sports girl one for those in Australia, the Face and Body brush. It's a really, really soft synthetic. As you can see, it's really wiggly brush, and that just sort of works it around. Or you can grab something like, if I can find it, the e.l.f. Complexion brush. And again, it is tapered like the Eco Tools one, but it's a really, really soft Teflon fibres, and you can just sort of tap on the stuff there. But again, that's just me. I apologise how quickly I was working through this. I want to just basically get through the basics of what I do when I'm doing different types of foundations or powders, etc. And I hope you enjoyed.